Let's get back to the story. This time, it'll be the tomb of Ts'in by Edgar Wallace. The tomb of Ts'in, the just crimes of Ts'in. Introduction. Ts'in written the story of the tomb of Ts'in's Wang Ti, the king of Ts'in, who became emperor, literally, from the notes he had upon the case. He might have made a greater and better book. You would have been pardoned such extravagance of style as he displayed in the extraordinary narrative. Remembering that he is of Italian birth and that the English is too full of pitfalls and the foreigner for his liking. In truth, though Ts'in speaks and writes in 3 Vedic language, which I think is the purest, Turkish and Russian, with considerable fluency, and though he knows at least 7 dialects of Chinese tongue, and can converse in most of muddled languages, yet English, with its bland and inviting simplicity, is a tongue which more than any other baffles and overawes him. They say of Niccolo Ts'in, his predecessors in the chair of anthropology at Florence, and the benefactor and more than father, whose name Ts'in bears, that he spoke all languages save Welsh. But I have reason for believing he never completely mastered the niceties of our tongue. Particularly did Ts'in wish to write clearly in the story which I now tell. In his favor, at his request. For it is a story like none other I've ever heard or read. It concerns the tomb of the great emperor, the first emperor of the Chinese, who died 2 centuries before the birth of Christ. It concerns the extraordinary genius and adventure Captain Ten tell him. Surely the most talkative man in the world. It concerns, too, that remarkable woman, the born in Yale, and at last, but not least, the Society of Joyful Intention, the most bloodthirsty organization in the world, is known. It concerns Ts'in also, with a time to bring. For Scotland Yard placed him on his mettle and set him a challenging task which threatened at one time to bring ruin to the greatest detective in Europe. And yes, likewise, Ruttons and Ink&Abysss. Of losing his life, I should not think it's worthwhile mentioning at this stage, but for the fact that the scoffers might suppose that he held life dearer than fame. Ts'in had never greatly interested himself in Chinese affairs, and now he had been instrumental in bringing in many men to their doom. Curiously enough, none of these have been inmates of the celestial kingdom. So that he with whole welcomed with a welcome on which a fire blazed mine, offered anything in the shape of novelty. The invitation of the Scarlet Yard to make himself acquainted with society's joyful intention. The story proper is set forth here. Begins with the surrounding china packet. On the 24th of November, in the year of the Great Storm, they went the ground off the Goodwin sands of the China Orient night blue sun. It was a modern steamer 6,000 tons, built by the Fairfield Company in 1900, and she traded between London and the China Sea. On the night of the question, she was homeward bound and was coming up the channel at half speed as precaution taken by her skipper as a result of the slight and patchy fog which lay in the channel. All St. Margaret's, for some unaccountable reason, she shifted her course, and before anybody seemed to realize what was happening, she was aground. No sea was running. At the time of the storm, a remodeled occurred a fortnight later, and with the aid of two Gopher dogs, she was refloated. That would rather seem for a matter of gentle master within the Scotland Yard, nor the fact of the natural excitement attended upon the ground. A very determined attempt was made to force the stuff safe to the captain's cabin. Here again, Scotland Yard dismissed the matter as a mere commonplace attempt to secure the safe's contents by some person or persons unknown. But with the fact that this was the third attempt in which had been made during the voyage. Coming through the Suez Canal, the captain had been on the bridge. As is usual, the ship is making progress through the great waterway. He met his steward, the intelligence captain, Kevin, with instructions to leave the department until he, the captain, returned. Halfway through the canal, with the ship's searchlight showing in a stretch clear